Welcome to the President's Diagnosis. I'm Tom Jackson, Managing Director at Moss Adams. This is a video tutorial for conducting a President's Diagnosis for Sutter Care at Home. Section 5. How do we process what we've seen and heard? The instructional objectives for this section are to use a diagnostic scorecard to determine an overall level of organizational health for each site and for the organization as a whole. Also, to prescribe improvements to take the client to the next level of organizational health. For each site visited, each diagnostician completes a diagnostic scorecard. The score for each control point, or key, is determined by the lowest scored observation for each control point. Diagnosticians then meet as a team to arrive at an overall score for the organization. For example, here's a diagnostic scorecard filled out for a single site. We see that for control point 1, the diagnostician has scored the site at level 2. Control point 2 has been scored at level 3, control point 3 at level 4, and control points 4 and 5 at levels 2 again. We see the overall pattern by connecting the observations or the scores with a single line. Meanwhile, when the diagnosticians meet together as a team, we find that the diagnostician who visited Site 2 has scored his site slightly differently. By connecting the dots on the lowest scored observations, we see that the overall score for the organization for Sites 1 and 2 is level 1 because of that one observation made at Site 2 for control point 3. This is what's drawing the score down to a level 1. Why the lowest score? It seems kind of mean, but in fact there are two important reasons. First, an organization is a living system no stronger than its weakest link. So we want to work on the weakest link. We want to know about the weakest link and to make it stronger because the overall health of the organization depends upon it. Also, the lowest score gives us the most information to help us identify opportunities for improvement, which leads us to the task of prescription. When making a prescription, keep in mind the client's targets. In this case, Sutter is targeting 4 visits per day by nurses in care at home and an average caseload of 13 in hospice. To make a prescription, review the observations to identify for each control point the observations that prevented the client from reaching the next highest level. And you're going to review the observations and also to identify best practices, and perhaps to make additional suggestions for improvement and record them in diagnostic forms. Let's return to our case. Here we see the 2 diagnosticians have scored their sites, and overall, the organization is at level 1 because of this one observation at control point 3. So, in order to investigate what needs to be prescribed, we would turn then to the diagnostic forms completed for Site 2. Here's the diagnostic form for Site 2, control point 3. And there's the observation at level 1, which determines the entire score for the organization. What can be done about it? Well, we have an idea here at level 3, which might be a best practice that could be replicated, but that's not necessarily going to improve the situation at level 1. We need some intermediate step. This would probably give rise to an additional idea, which again can be recorded directly on the form, so that we can make a better prescription about what can be done to bring the level of health for the organization from level 1 to level 2. We probably start by focusing on site number 2, control point 3.